Trinidad is my land, and of it I am proud and glad. But I can't understand why some people just talk it bad. But I know all of them we running them out. Don't know where they're talking about. They would paint your black every day, and the right things they would never say. Like our sportsmen being rated among the best. Our scholars have sit and passed every test and put us right alongside the rest. But then our pitch lake is the greatest one of its kind. Our sugar and oil is really refined. So you see, friends, this is a real thing, so no man's mind. They just talk some nonsense. Me ain't know where they're doing it for. About so much violence, man, you would swear that we fighting war. Of course, we have we delinquents to face, but just like any other place, look, the things that I say about here is really too much for me to bear. Because my people are daily making progress without any form of stupidness, and in this way we must gain success. For when we move in, we all move as one body. No bickering between you and me. For our policy stands for racial equality. Now when a stranger spending a little time in this lovely isle, every day you see him, he always have a hearty smile. When his time is up to depart, he would say with pride in heart, I'll be back, you could bet your life. And if I can't come, I will send my wife. And then he'll tell you he really wants her to come to drink some rum and have plenty fun in this great island in the sun. For Trinidadian, as foreigners do recall, it doesn't matter whether big or small, or if you're rich or poor, friends, we cater for one and all. So all of them were talking, they either drunk or they're staring mad, or maybe they forgetting Mr. Universe belongs to Trinidad. And yet we have men of talent and skill, with high hopes of improving still. And if you think all this is a lie, the mighty sniper will tell you why. Now our steel band is the best talent in this world. Like calypsos or stories are told, with its written to touch your soul. So Trinidad, this lovely land of my book, small but overwhelming in work. And as you know, Carnival is the greatest frolic on earth.
Yes, indeed, of course, a pleasant good night to all and sundry. I will tell you that we will be suffering some technical issues tonight. I can assure you of that. Let me just get on to Facebook here. Yes. We have some serious problems tonight because we had to wipe clean all the information that we have and start all over again. I'm trying to get it here. You're not getting nothing?
Trinidad is my land, and of it I am proud and glad. But I can't understand why some people just talk it bad. But I know all of them we running them out. Don't know where they're talking about. They will paint your black every day, and the right things they will never say. Like our sportsmen being rated among the best. Our scholars have sit and passed every test and put us right alongside the rest. But then our pitch lake is the greatest one of its kind. Our sugar and oil is really refined. So you see, friends, this is a real thing, so no man's mind. They just talk some nonsense. Me ain't know where they're doing it for. About so much violence, man, you would swear that we fighting war. Of course, we have we delinquents to face, but just like any other place, look, the things that I say about here is really too much for me to bear, because my people are daily making progress without any form of stupidness, and in this way we must gain success. For when we move in, we all move as one body, no bickering between you and me, for our policy stands for racial equality. Now when a stranger spending a little time in this lovely isle, every day you see him, he always have a hearty smile. When his time is up to depart, he would say with pride in heart, I'll be back, you could bet your life. And if I can't come, I will send my wife. And then he'll tell you, he really wants her to come, to drink some rum and have the fun in this great island in the sun. For Trinidadian, as foreigners do recall, it doesn't matter whether big or small, or if you're rich or poor, friends, we cater for one and all. So all of them we're talking, they either drunk or they're staring mad, or maybe they're forgetting Mr. Universe belongs to Trinidad, and yet we have men of talent. Like calypsos or stories are told, which is written to touch your soul. So Trinidad, this lovely land of my book, small but overwhelming in wood. And as you know, Carnival is the greatest frolic on earth. Trinidad is rated among the best. Our scholars have sit and passed every test and put us right alongside the rest. But then our pitch lake is the greatest one of its kind. Our sugar and oil is really refined. So you see, friends, no man's mind. They just talk some nonsense. Me ain't no way they're doing it for. About so much violence, man, you would swear that we fighting war. Of course, we have we delinquents to face, but just like any other place, look, things
pleasant good night to all and sundry. Yes, things are very, very bad tonight. Very, very bad tonight. I want to be frank with you, but commitment and dedication will, of course, ensure that we complete the night. But I want to say, too, that, of course, we did some work on the entire system, and the one that I normally would have to, of course, use on a nightly basis, it has, of course, been returned clean, and we have to, of course, upload everything.
And if I can't come, I will send my wife and then tell you he really wants her to come.
So let me take up this. Yes, indeed. So we have to, of course, upgrade everything, and we just didn't have enough time. In fact, I want to tell you that I took a chance on the priority bus route, and when I almost reached in Tangarigua, there was a roadblock, police, and so of course they asked me to pull aside, so I pull aside, and then of course they asked me if I have authority to use the priority bus route. I said calmly no, but of course as I have a program tonight, and I'll be going, of course, I try to get it to the computers so that I'll be able, of course, to deliver the program on time. The young man said, listen, I know of you, but just drive here and this intersection here and go back on the main road. And of course he said so very politely, and I thought I was a very, very lucky man. But of course, that being as it may, that is part of the chances you will take, because you're so dedicated and committed that you want to be on time. You know you have some preliminary work or pre-work to do before, but it simply did not happen. But that being as it may, I am not going to be fazed by that, because tomorrow is another day. That being as it may, let us look at the situation as far as I want to talk about love a little bit, and to, of course, deal with the crime situation as well. Because, of course, what we must be looking at is solutions. And I want for those who, of course, those naysayers and those persons who I consider to be a boomerang, either lunatic or boomerang fools, or what those people dress up in large oversized suits, and they have a very apple type nose, big as an apple. Yeah, clowns. So they are boomerang clowns and buffoons and lunatics. So I'm not going to bother with them. Let them laugh. Let them, of course, get their kicks, because at the end of the day, when the rain falls, it falls on everybody's house top, as is the case today. But however, when it is good times, the same principle applies. Good times mean rain will fall on everybody's house top and everybody will benefit. But of course, in these hard times, all of us are feeling the pain. But there are those who, of course, will accept the pain as some mark of honor. I say that human beings are not meant to live that way, particularly in circumstances where it ought not to be, it should not be, it must not be, simply because there were enough resources in order to prevent that from happening. Of course, I'll have to rely on my phone alone, my cell phone, to, of course, engage the any cause. But of course, we are still targeting 20,000 in the beginning. Tell a friend, tell an enemy, tell a daughter, tell a son, tell a grandpa, tell a grandma, and of course anybody that you know that, of course, the corridor is here. Yes, tonight's quality might be a little different to what we have grown accustomed to, but tomorrow night I'm sure that with tenacity and with, of course, courage and grit, we are going to, of course, go back to where we would have been. And I'm saying so guardedly, and I'm saying so from a perspective of information. Let me say, I've not seen it yet on Facebook, but I have seen it on YouTube, so I know that, and it might be a little slow tonight as well, because I'm using the secondary system, because the primary system was cleaned totally, and I came back late, so I didn't have the chance, of course, to upgrade. I should say upgrade, but upload the apps and the programs that I would usually use to, of course, deliver to you. That means, as it may, I am business. The fact of the matter is that we have material, we have content, and while, of course, the the instrument through which we will deliver to you may be staggering a bit, I say to you that we have to continue with this mission and this task. Let's go straight to the lines. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Good night to you and all your fans and everybody. I call from Canada again.
Yes, thank you very much for calling. Go ahead.
Lots of snow down here. It's cool like that down here, but let me tell you.
All right, I hear you.
Let me tell you, you see these fellas with this nice pretty jacket and a long robe?
Uh-huh.
And they put on a nice wig, like,
Yes.
They just, I don't know what the hell's going on with these guys. They're under the law. They're not doing nothing for the law of Trinidad and Tobago. What's going on? You know what I talk about? This robe they put under the hair, look like a white, and they go to court, and what's that?
Especially when they represent our government, that always, of course, pay them big money, and lose everything.
Exactly. I'm the guy who talked to you earlier today.
All right, okay. Thanks for calling. Are you seeing the program right now?
I own the program every night.
Okay, so you're saying, I just want to know, because I had to use a secondary system to get on tonight because the primary system was cleaned and we had to reload and a number of complex things we had to do. So I decided, time or no time, let's get on with the job at hand.
Mr. Lennox, I live in Canada and I from Mahadev Trace and Davy.
All right, okay.
Okay, so good night and have a nice night and carry on a nice night for the whole family and friends, for the UNC and all my friends in Laventille too. I have a lot of friends in Laventille.
Great. Thank you very much. Because, of course, as I keep saying to Laventille, I'll be on the right side of history on this occasion. 39 seats in Trinidad for the UNC at any configuration. I want, of course, to pause by that picture there. What you are seeing on the screen now was when we entered the arrangement with the UNC in 2007. You notice Julia Davy was there as well. Yes, so but she was one of the founding persons of Love, Laventille Outreach for Vertical Enrichment that had that meeting of minds, or put another way, commonality of interests, or put another way, a coalition of interests with, of course, the trade unions, the PEP, as well as, of course, other interest group that Kamala Prasad Bisesa had invited, of course, to participate in the common purpose of getting rid of the Rowley administration. And to get rid of them, we must. And that it should be a vital and very important, of course, mission for every single citizen in every single constituency. I just put up that there to show where, of course, Pandey and Jack Warner had, of course, led the campaign in 2007 on behalf of the UNCA, of which, of course, the Love Party, but we were calling ourselves at that point in time for, of course, ease and for identification with the Laventille people. We were saying all the time, Laventille for Laventille. That was the sobriquet. That was the message that we were sending. Laventille for Laventille. It is still today Laventille for Laventillians, as we, of course, inexorably move towards the 2025 elections. They can say what they want. There are those, of course, who are either naysayers or who are recalcitrant or who are in denial, but we have a different situation today. And, of course, the party that tells us that they are African has now, of course, have designated Chinese as their leader. And as far as I'm concerned, once you are prime minister, then of course you are leader of the particular party. You can jump high, you can jump low, because that is how the tradition is, and that is how it has been structured. But of course, you have a fella who said that he was, of course, a Democrat, and he was, of course, about free speech, and people, of course, expressing their views. Well, he has emasculated and captured the entire PNM and have imposed, of course, a Chinese man on the people. That the document that you see there there in green, well, that is the part of the manifesto. I think it's page 44 of the manifesto of the 2007 general elections that was contested by UNCA, of which Lavatil Outreach for Vertical Enrichment was a part. Well, you would see that one part of that manifesto, first time in the history of Trinidad and Tobago, a simple, ordinary party with, of course, just interested in 3 seats, the Laventils and and Port of Spain South, just 3 seats, but were given significant place. Imagine what Laventil will benefit now when they do the right thing. I say when, because you young men and those, of course, who are engaged in crime and criminality and borderline issues and, of course, gangs, you must understand that those who we have been supported, we as Laventilians, as East Port of Spainians, as Bitamians, as Siloxians, as Chumakakians, as Moveraians, if you want to call them that, or Southeast Port of Spainians, they have betrayed us, and they have been doing so on a consistent basis. We have to be suckers for punishment. Suckers for punishment. To, of course, consistently and without fail accept that abuse and not say, this time around, no more. Tobago did it. They are mainly Africans. As the same hogwash that the PNM sold them in Tobago. But they got smart. I visited a friend today, and let me tell you how recalcitrant some people are and how steep they are in their foolish attempt to be like lamb to the slaughter and to defend or somehow believe that the PNM has some kind of a special quality, and of course for which they are attached. And when you hear the quality, you ask, well, in your mind, what kind of asses are we talking to? What kind of illusion or what kind of illusionists that make up that small, increasingly eroding group of individuals that still hold on to that dribble called the PNM? Well, dribble will eventually burst. It will sever. The PNM is a dribble, and it will sever because it is now imploding, and all of the so-called stability and all of the stable partyism we're going to see, of course, unfolding as we go closer and closer to the elections of the internal elections as a consequence of Rowley's, what I consider to be hamstring and his dominance of the party by imposing, of course, a Chinese man to lead in the parliament of all places as prime minister. That is a madness. You must now know, as we have been saying, that all of that was part of their propaganda. All of that was part of their hoodwinking. All that was part of wanting you to accept the abuse and the abandonment and the destruction, social, economic, and otherwise, that the PNM has leveled on the people of East Port of Spain, Laventil, Bitam, Masilat, Chumaka, Camova, and we can go on and on, Belmont, etc. And therefore, we have a duty and responsibility, like Tobago, to say no. And let me tell you something: those who are still recalcitrant because of some traditional allegiance, because of some cultural, what I consider to be misplacement, or I say to you, you cannot be serious when our kids are acting up. They are having their own revolution, violent one, where they can get guns and they use it, and when they have a borderline, and if there are no guns, they will use other instruments of what I consider to be violence. Come on. And I want to tell, of course, the young people, get on board. The country you save, or you are not required to save, will be yours, and meaning that your future. We are on our way out. Put another way, we are closer to to our way out. But you is closer to your way in, and Trinidad and Tobago must be managed. And you cannot, of course, abandon Trinidad and Tobago. That is where your birthplace is. That is where you have buried your navel string, in the sense that you were born here. And therefore, those who are affecting negatively your chances of striving, of acquiring a better standard of living and quality of life, you must, of course, reject them. And the PNM, of course, is that. Now, I was making the point that before that experience with that kind police officer who understood that I was on my way to collect these equipment that is inside here, to, of course, to engage in this tonight's program. And of course he said, well, Mr. Smith, I know you, go ahead. So in other words, he said, well, I will not question the veracity of your excuse, because he probably is looking on right now. And I want to thank him very much, of course, for giving me, because it could have turned out much different, because the option was his. I was at his, of course, disposal, so to do, and that is, you could issue me a ticket, keep me there much longer, etc. But he just told me, just turn off on this intersection of the bus route, and you can go ahead, because I know of you. What he knows of me, because he suspects that I'm sincere. So, of course, talking about it now, I'm sure if he is, of course, looking on, he will, of course, said that he would have done the right thing in that particular circumstance. His boss and them may say something different. The demand was on the bus route, and therefore, of course, there is a type of offense to call, or it reflects. If it occurs, then of course that is glaring. Then of course you have to, of course, take action, or the offense was committed. It is called strict liability offenses. Strict liability offenses, and that is, if I'm driving on the bus route, there's no more proof. You need to take action as a enforcement officer. If I'm driving and my headlights or other lights are not functioning, you're driving with one headlight, that alone, even though it might have occurred without your knowledge, that is to say, some short might have occurred in the vehicle or in the wires that are attached to the headlight, coming down maybe from wherever you started off your journey. But the fact of the matter is that once they see it, no excuse. The law enforcer, seeing that, should take action, because it has occurred glaring. There is no excuses for that kind of offense. It is called, of course, as I say, strict liability offenses, particularly in the area of course, traffic laws. But that being as it may, but before that, and that's why I was delayed a bit and had to, of course, rush to see if I could get the equipment as quickly as possible. I was, of course, in Woodbrook, a good friend of mine over the years, friend in the sense that we wouldn't drink together and so on, but we would meet up in different places, dancing and so on. So today, apparently he wanted me to know that he saw me, of course, in the presence of Kamala Prasad Bisesa and the other, what I consider to be actors, or the other entities at the head table. So here how he approached me. I see only want to remove my government. So I said, well, the government of which you speak, and if you support, it's no good. It's no good. He then says, well, listen, only supporting that corrupt group of persons. Well, you know, I am going to respond forcefully. And I said in no uncertain terms, well, listen, there could be no more corrupt people than, of course, the PNM. Well, we went on, of course, because he claims that the place has been developed by the PNM more than the UNC. Well, I had to tell him that the UNC had just 5 years 5 years, and he said, including, of course, that of Robinson. But the PNM had over 40 years, 50 years. So what is your argument? How the hell do you expect them to develop Trinidad and Tobago when, of course, the responsibility, by and large, was the PNM, and you're claiming, of course, because they were there longer, that, of course, nobody could beat them. Well, of course, you know, I had to, of course, dig deep in the recesses of my, let's say, memory, or put another way, in my archive. My archive, yes, my academic or intellectual archive, and said, but listen, if you are saying that the PNM lasted all that time, one, he already clearly conceded to the fact that the development as it ought to have been did not occur, because I told him, well, we ought to have been like Singapore. He said, Singapore what? Singapore what? So I said, well, are you saying that the PNM wasn't beaten by the UNC? Because he said that we can't, UNC can't beat them. UNC can't beat the PNM. I said, well, what happened in 1986? It's 33, you know. What happened in 1995? And I point my fingers like that. What happened again in 2003? And what happened again in 2010? That's 4. I say, and in 2025, go make it 5. Well, he get mad. He get mad. But of course, he went on to say, well, listen, he didn't express that anger as yet. Fella who I know for a very long time, crying McCarr there to fix it, started the conversation. He wanted to know that he is a PNM, obviously, and that he saw me, of course, in the well positioned in the presence of the UNC. And so he said, well, listen, that's a crop. I said, well, you must tell me. No, not yet. I say, but you cannot. You're repeating what Rowley and them tell you, because all you say that they are corrupt. Well, I am telling you that the PNM is corrupt. You say, well, name the corruption. I say Brent Thomas. I say Vincent Nelson. I said, of course, the interference with the Police Service Commission. But I think the one that really caught him, because all of those he was saying, that is corruption, that is corruption. So I want to know what definition of corruption he means, because of course corruption may be have a different definition for him. So then I realized when I told him, look at Balize House, $100 million. A man said that the party was bankrupt. How the hell that come about? By what? By hard work and honesty. Let's take the call before, of course, I continue. A person, good night. Welcome. Sorry about the quality, but that is how it is sometimes.
No, it's all right. It's the opening batsman.
Yes, man. Go ahead, my friend. Go ahead.
I'm still looking for that letter, you know. You put it anyway we can access it.
Which letter is that?
That is the one KCR sent the Commonwealth.
Yeah. In fact, I will play it tonight. I converted it to audio. So I think I will take off this one and play it, because I did look for it and I have it at hand. Yes.
All right, because people have to see that too.
Yes,
we can't afford them to dig carry down 6 feet, you know. Because
yes. That's important. That's important, man. Yes.
I see in September 2025, Ghana is holding a oil conference. So I saying to myself, I wonder if this fellow called KCR will do a backward move on small pin.
You never could tell, because this man lies so much. In fact, in fact, his mendaciousness, I mean, is unfathomable, and he has been known for that now. People hate him. He's most hated prime minister, hated person in this country. And of course,
and why are you saying that? It is in Ghana, that is a beloved country, so he can go there and push yam politics and yam diplomacy. I think that is where you have to start it on the African continent.
Well, it could be, but there's something more sinister than that must be brought to the attention of the country. His obsession with Ghana and places like not Tanzania, but that place, Mozambique.
All right.
Where PNM officials, former, would end up there. Fellas like Garcia is around there. They will. After they would have abscond from potential justice. They go to these places and then wait until PNM gets back and then they come back. But this time there's no coming back. Go ahead.
But we have an important link in Ghana, you know. We have a bank of which the Trinidad government have over 40%. You remember the Republic Bank?
Yeah, Republic Bank. Yeah, this is the point I'm making. They go there. Yeah, they go there to what I consider to be engage in their retreat, so to speak, until waiting for the PNM to get back in and then come back.
But there's a hidden agenda too. They all go with the khaki pants full of things.
Yeah.
The banking across here possibly.
That's right. There's a special interest with places like that and Mozambique, yes. Eric Williams end up there as well. I think he probably is in Mozambique, based on my information.
I am hoping that they start to declassify files, the CIA on Trinidad, you know, because they know they used to pay Burnham, the CIA used to pay Burnham. So I and Burnham and Eric was real partners. So what Burnham was getting, Eric was getting. People have to understand that, and the way Eric most likely banqueted in America. So his children would have gotten it, because you remember as soon as he died, one flew out to live abroad.
Yes.
You understand? You just do go and live abroad too, unless you have a big fat bank account. I go and have a nice time.
Yes, same to you, my friend. Because of the request and I don't want to be accused of tardiness, I'm going to replace, of course, that video because I think it speaks for itself. There's Julia Davy. I am next, of course, wearing a beard at that time. I was hoping that people would see me in the vein of Maurice Marshall, so I decided to sport a beard, hoping, but there are several issues surrounding the campaign that I will, of course, address in due course, because I must, even though I may not be a candidate, but certainly I will want to manage the entire campaign along certain parts of the East-West corridor, but includes, of course, the Laventils. So what I want to say about that is that Julia Davy was, in fact, a candidate under the UNCA. That's the first thing I want to tell you. And secondly, that we were able to craft out, negotiate a part of the manifesto of that year. Never before a small group of persons was able to make certain that in a mass party that had the potential to form government, even though, of course, we lost that election in 2007. But if we had gotten that, it means, therefore, they would have had to deliver what we agreed to in that manifesto. It's the same thing will happen once I get the opportunity with Kamala Prasad Bisesa under the UNC. In fact, when we had the meeting of minds, they went to searching to find that manifesto, because of course it was Mulal who said, well, I suppose things have not changed much in Laventil, and of course I said yes with a few, of course, nuances, and that is the situation has got worst. Yes, the situation has gotten worst, and anybody with a modicum of common sense and of course paying a serious attention to Laventil will know that the situation has gotten worse, as it has across the country after the 2015 general elections. But let's go, of course, to Rowley now and what he said. And I want you to take note of paragraph 14, because I said it in non-certain terms. Here it is. He write the Commonwealth Secretariat, and he wrote a CARICOM, and inside of that letter he said that he, as opposition leader, presented an accusation in the parliament that the sitting Prime Minister, Kamala Prasad Bisesa, was conspiring with others, or had conspired with others, or were conspiring to kill a journalist. Kill a journalist. And I said it at that press conference after, of course, the meeting, because it has to be said. That is, to me, treason. Treason. He doesn't want you to know that. But thank God for social media. And thank God for committed people, because it's not me alone. Mr. Cyrus, I want to thank you for, of course, making it happen. I want to thank the police officer for giving me a chance to get these computers back here. And even, of course, we are not perfect, but at least we have a program tonight. That is the level of commitment. But listen to Rowley. I've converted it, of course, to audio. But you will also be seeing the writing as well. The words that Rowley used before the 2015 general elections. He was so hurried to do evil to the people. He was so committed to sinister acts and vendetta. He was so greedy for power. And clearly, when you read this, you will see that he was intoxicated with power. Because it is said that power intoxicates and make men giddy, make them inebriated, meaning that drunk like hell. And it is also said that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And we have seen, of course, Rowley arrogated absolute power within the PNM to do or to promote his corrupt agenda, putting a Chinese man to head the PNM in the parliament. And because of the tradition of the PNM, one can consider him to be the leader of the party. Rowley have generated a configured, planned, and executed. But let's look at Rowley's letter to CARICOM and the Commonwealth Secretariat, asking for what? For what? Yes, for independent observers. But hear him today only because he knows that he may have an unfair advantage. Because Laimo's wife, Miss Elizabeth Solomon, is the Assistant Secretary General of the CARICOM. Very powerful woman. I showed you that the other day. We probably can take a look at that as well. And we will have, of course, of necessity to push that, because nowhere they must hide and execute their evil agenda. We know them too well not to be concerned when they are pretending that it is nonchalant. We saw Rowley when he said he didn't know Miss Nasser's scope. He asked a question in the audience of his ministers: is Miss Nasser's scope made the chief elections officer? We don't suggesting that he doesn't know. All that was theatrics. All that was scheme. Because he could help. He cannot help not to know. Two negatives making a positive. He cannot help not to know. Meaning that he damn well knew. He damn well knew. Because he went to Guyana. Because Nasser Scope, the chief elections officer, all know and still to supervise the 2025 election as she did with that of the THA. He went to Guyana. And she was the government representative on a committee set up to look at the Guyanese, or to resolve the Guyanese elections. So you're telling me that you know when she was sent from Trinidad, and when you go in Guyana, you ain't talk to she at all. So you come back here and telling us, because Kamala Prasad Bisesa was expressing as she always has been, and she has been truthful, and she has been on the bottom bullseye all the time in terms of the nefarious acts of this government. So she was claiming that at that time, people were saying that she afraid to lose, or she would lose, and that is why she's talking and she's crying foul and so on. Rowley was on that narrative as well. The UNC going to say that PNM thieved the election. Remember that? Yeah. Because he believes that he could use reverse psychology and, of course, generate the Bear Nancy story. When, of course, the rabbit say, don't throw me in the bush, don't throw me in the bush now, please, don't throw me in the bush. And Bear Nancy throw the rabbit in the bush. Well, it's there. There's where he wanted to go. And boy, he was in his element, in his natural environment, and he just ran and, of course, laugh at Bear Nancy. Well, that is what Rowley tried to do us. But we are human beings, and therefore we are smarter than that. You could do it once or twice, but you can't do it 3 and 4 times or in perpetuity. So he realized that he has reached the end, the zenith, and therefore he decided to cop out, but leaving, of course, his backside behind exposed. Talking about, of course, this Chinese imposition. But let's go straight, of course, to that document where he sent, of course, to the CARICOM Secretariat and that of the Commonwealth Secretariat.
Dr. Rowley wrote CARICOM and the Commonwealth Secretariats to send observers in the 2015 general elections as opposition leader. PNM political leader Dr. Keith Rowley has formally made a request for election observers from CARICOM. June 4, 2015. The following is the text of his letter to CARICOM's Secretary General. His Excellency Ambassador Erwin Larocque. Secretary General. Caribbean Community, CARICOM, Secretariat. Turkayan. Greater Georgetown. Guyana. Dear Ambassador. The People's National Movement, hereinafter referred to as the PNM, is the oldest political party in Trinidad and Tobago, having been founded by Dr. Eric Williams in the year 1956. The PNM currently occupies 13 of the 41 seats in the House of Representatives, and is the official opposition in the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago. The People's Partnership is a political alliance of the United National Congress, the Congress of the People, the Tobago Organization of the People and the National Joint Action Committee. This alliance presently forms the government of Trinidad and Tobago, having succeeded at the polls in the general elections held on May 24, 2010. Since forming the government, the People's Partnership has continuously demonstrated a reckless disregard for the principles of good governance, and no respect whatsoever for the many institutions created and developed over time to ensure that citizens are properly served and protected. As the general election approaches, which is constitutionally due no later than September 17, 2015, this government has also embarked upon blatant schemes designed to utilize state resources to induce, relocate, and or instill fear in voters, in a concerted effort to better its own chances at the polls. The PNM is therefore deeply concerned that proper monitoring is required for the 2015 general elections to ensure that the entire process is conducted freely and fairly. The following brief examination of this government's record over the last five years no doubt provides the proper foundation for the aforementioned concerns, which regrettably, it has now become necessary to bring to the attention of CARICOM. 1. This government, on coming into office in the year 2010, terminated or refused to renew the contracts of the...
You forgive us, of course, we have some little delays as well because things are not perfect.
Of persons employed by the previous administration on contract without any regard to performance and the requirements of the entities in which they were employed. 2. In January 2011, this government appointed a technical operator with strong links to senior government officials, over several other senior and unquestionably better qualified individuals, to the position of Director of the Strategic Intelligence Agency, that is, as the head of this country's Security Intelligence Agency. This appointment, along with the termination of many highly qualified and long-serving members of the intelligence agency, came after correspondence was sent to the Prime Minister by a senior police officer, bypassing the Commissioner of Police, merely alleging without any evidence in support that certain persons had allegiances to the PNM. 3. This government caused a state of emergency to be declared on August 23, 2011, which lasted for approximately four months without any proper justification pursuant to the Constitution for so doing. Over 400 citizens were arrested, of which only 50% or thereabouts were charged, and to date, there has been not one successful prosecution arising out of this act. 4. In November 2011, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service arrested several members of the Muslim faith on the basis that there was a plot to assassinate the Prime Minister and other senior government officials. To date, despite the arrests, no evidence to support this purported plot has been disclosed, and no charges have been laid with respect to the citizens who were arrested. 5. This government attempted in March 2013 to pass the Miscellaneous Provisions, Defense and Police Complaints, Bill 2013. The objective of this bill was to give police powers to the defense force, without the necessary countervailing protection provisions which govern the police service in Trinidad and Tobago, i.e. the creation of soldier police. 6. this government, without any public consultation, and a mere month before the local government elections of October 2013, amended the Municipal Corporations Act to introduce the system of proportional representation into the local government electoral system of Trinidad and Tobago for the election of aldermen. 7. This government, again without any public consultation, attempted to introduce midway through the campaign for the Tobago House of Assembly elections, the Constitutional Amendment, Tobago, Bill 2012, to provide for internal self-government for Tobago. 8. In the 2013 St. Joseph by-election, this government's candidate for that seat, with the open support of this government, campaigned by taking personal credit for the issuance of certificates of comfort with respect to state-owned lands in the constituency, as well as the commencement of several infrastructural projects also in the constituency, all of which occurred just prior to that by-election. 9. Once again without public consultation, and in the face of a commission set up to discuss amendments to the Constitution which made no such recommendation, this government proposed an amendment to the Constitution to provide for a runoff election where no individual candidate had received 50% of the vote. One of the major consequences of this proposal is the possibility that a duly elected government could be delayed for several weeks from taking office, while the said runoff election is held. This amendment was highly controversial, and caused significant public outcry, which in turn led to one of the members of the said commission criticizing the proposed amendment, and declaring that it was not the subject of any focused discussions, and did not even form part of the commission's proposals. 10. In November 2011, this government laid the Administration of Justice, Preliminary Inquiry, Bill which contained the infamous Section 34, which along with decisions made thereafter by the then Attorney General of Trinidad and Tobago with respect to litigation being conducted before the local courts, all but guaranteed the freedom of two well-known financiers of the United National Congress who were before the court for several offenses, including that of money laundering. 11. Former Attorney General Anand Ramlagan, while holding the office of Attorney General filed 5 actions in defamation before the High Court against the Leader of the Opposition for words spoken in that capacity on matters of great public interest. 12. One of the actions in defamation referred to in the previous paragraph complained about statements made by the Leader of the Opposition with respect to the Section 34 debacle referred to in paragraph X above. For the purposes of his defense to the claim, the Leader of the Opposition secured a witness statement from the then head of the Central Authority, Mr. David West, who was intimately involved in the prosecutions of the two well-known financiers both locally and abroad.
Let me pause.
The witness statement spoke to the change in approach.
Indeed. I hope I didn't take it off, but let me pause for this call. Sorry about that caller. Call back. Boy, I thought I got it paused. It's not paused. Boy, like I took it off, but let's see if we could get back where we were. Sorry about that. That's why I like to complete these exercises, but let's go back.
Dr. Rowley wrote CARICOM and the Commonwealth Secretariats to send observers in the 2015 general elections as opposition leader. In support of this government, campaigned by taking personal credit for the issuance of certificates of comfort with respect to state-owned lands in the constituency, did not even form part of the Commission's proposals. 10. In November 2011, this government laid the Administration of Justice, Preliminary Inquiry, Bill which contained the infamous Section 34, which along with decisions made thereafter by the then Attorney General of Trinidad and Tobago with respect to litigation being conducted before the local courts, all but guaranteed the freedom of two well-known financiers of the United National Congress who were before the court for several offenses, including that of money laundering. 11. Former Attorney General Anand Ramlagan, while holding the office of Attorney General filed 5 actions in defamation before the High Court against the Leader of the Opposition for words spoken in that capacity on matters of great public interest. 12. One of the actions in defamation referred to in the previous paragraph complained about statements made by the Leader of the Opposition with respect to the Section 34 debacle referred to in paragraph X above.
Hold on, caller. Let me just take off this thing before. This is a different system now, so I have to get myself familiar with it. So just hold on a while. Let me just. I'm trying to see if I can pause it rather than take it off entirely to start all over.
The witness statement spoke to the change in approach to these prosecutions once this government assumed office. In January 2015, Mr. West, who was now the head.
Oh boy! All right, go ahead, caller. It doesn't matter. I'll find back which part I left off. Go ahead.
Tobago and everybody who's on the line.
Yes.
Lennox, I wouldn't be long.
Go ahead.
I'll be short as possible. Listen, you need to see a clipping from I saw on YouTube where Petrojam, right? Mm-hmm. And they were talking about all the corruption, right? that was currently involved in this Petrojam thing in Jamaica, and it was a message directly to Stuart Young. So I think you should have a look at that. All right, check it out.
All right,
okay.
You took a note of it and you sent it to me in any form?
No, I didn't send it to you. I saw it. So I said,
right.
Look, let me tell you about it one time. So you can check it out.
Because I know that there was 49% interest by PDVSA, Venezuela, and of course, when Trump ready to attack, they decided to compulsorily acquire that 49%. And I know that the opposition in Jamaica had some concerns, and I wouldn't be surprised if among them. But hearing Stuart Young's name involved, I think that would be something of interest. So we will look at that because
Petrojam.
Yes, okay.
According to what I saw there, according to what I saw, Petrojam was in massive corruption, massive corruption. Check it out.
Good, right, good, and therefore one could say one could transfer that to what is happening in Venezuela as well, and why Delcy Rodriguez would have been here. Representing a man that is a fugitive of $25 million bounty on his head by the United States.
Dr. CARICOM and the Commonwealth Secretariats to send observers in the 2015 general elections as opposition leader. PNM political leader Dr. Keith Rowley has formally made a request for election observers from CARICOM. June 4th, 2015.
Yeah, so let's get back to where we were.
Local courts all but guaranteed the freedom of two well-known financiers of the United National Congress who were before the court for several offenses, including that of money laundering. 11. Former Attorney General Anand Ramlagan, while holding the office of Attorney General, filed 5 actions in defamation before the High Court against the leader of the opposition for words spoken in that capacity on matters of great public interest. 12. One of the actions in defamation referred to in the previous paragraph complained about statements made by the leader of the opposition with respect to the Section 34 debacle referred to in paragraph X above. For the purposes of his defense to the claim, the leader of the opposition secured a witness statement from the then head of the Central Authority, Mr. David West, who was intimately involved in the prosecutions of the two well-known financiers both locally and abroad. The witness statement spoke to the change in approach to these prosecutions, once this government assumed office. In January 2015, Mr. West, who was now the head of the Police Complaints Authority, made a report to the AG Commissioner of Police that he had been approached by the former Attorney General to withdraw his witness statement filed in the defamation action on behalf of the leader of the opposition. This act, on the part of the former Attorney General, is commonly referred to as witness tampering, and it is a criminal offense. 13. A material witness to the allegation of witness tampering, referred to in the preceding paragraph, was the then Minister of National Security, who corroborated the claim of Mr. West, and who went on to assert that an attempt was thereafter made by senior government ministers and close associates of the government, to coerce him to retract the said corroboration. On February 2, 2015, as a consequence of the matters set out above, the former Attorney General resigned his office, and the Prime Minister dismissed the Minister of National Security from her cabinet. The former Minister of National Security informed the public that he was dismissed because he had refused to succumb to attempts to change his statement which corroborated the claim of Mr. West. The Prime Minister also thereafter proceeded to launch a scathing public attack on Mr. West at a political meeting, calling for him to step down as the head of the Police Complaints Authority, and later demanded of the President of the Republic that he fire Mr. West from the Police Complaints Authority. 14. On May 23, 2013, the Prime Minister referred
this
to
one is important.
14. For investigation, certain matters raised by the leader of the opposition in Parliament on May 20, 2013, which in the view of the opposition leader, if proven, demonstrated an attack on, and a conspiracy to undermine, key institutions of state by senior members of this government, including the Prime Minister. While making the said referral, and without awaiting the outcome of the investigation, the Prime Minister moved a motion that the leader of the opposition deliberately and willfully misled the House and had committed a contempt, and referred him to the Privileges Committee. That matter was not completed before the tenure of the House came to an end, and it accordingly lapsed. 15. On May 1, 2015, just over one month before Parliament is to be dissolved, and a general election called, this government declared that the Prime Minister and other senior members of government had been cleared of all the matters referred to in the contribution of the leader of the opposition on May 20, 2013, purportedly supported by privately obtained opinions. This government then moved a motion of suspension with respect to the leader of the opposition, and utilized its majority in Parliament to suspend him for the very same matters referred to in the preceding paragraph, this time without referring him to the Privileges Committee, where he would have been provided with an opportunity to be heard. 16. On May 13, 2015, the Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions had cause to issue a release indicating that the investigation into the disclosures by the opposition leader on May 20, 2013 had not in fact been completed and that no one including the Prime Minister had been cleared. The Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions stated as follows. Any parallel investigation by interested parties and the public airing of the supposed results are palpably selfing and bring to mind the need for the legal maxim, no man should be a judge in his own cause. This is a bedrock principle of natural justice, the rule of law and due process. It exists to ensure impartiality by the disqualification of potentially biased or interested parties in the investigations. Further, notwithstanding the fact that the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service has the institutional strength and history to withstand pressure from whatever source, the publication of this information derived from private sources has the potential to interfere with the investigations being conducted by independent and impartial bodies, such as the Integrity Commission and the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. Moreover, it has the potential to interfere with the public perception of the soundness of these investigations. 17. As a consequence of the intervention of the Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions as set out above, both the Prime Minister and the Attorney General have severely criticized the said office holder, and the Prime Minister has called on her to recuse herself from the investigation. 18. On the heels of the release from the Director of Public Prosecutions, the Integrity Commission of Trinidad and Tobago communicated with the Attorney-at-Law for the Prime Minister by letter dated May 19, 2015, and indicated that its investigation into the matters raised by the Leader of the Opposition had been terminated, on the basis that there were insufficient grounds for continuing the investigation. Within days of the issuance of this letter, 2 members of the Integrity Commission resigned, with the Deputy Chairman Justice Sebastian Ventura stating that the Integrity Commission did not in fact sufficiently investigate the matters raised by the Leader of the Opposition, and that the letter dated May 19, 2015 was incorrect. In addition, it has since been learnt that the Chairman of the Integrity Commission shared chambers with the Attorney-at-Law for the Prime Minister immediately before his appointment, as well as the fact that the father of the Chairman's grandson is contesting the same seat as the Leader of the Opposition in the upcoming general elections. 19. On April 30, 2015, Moody's Investors Service downgraded Trinidad and Tobago's government bond rating and issuer rating from Baa1 to Baa2 and changed the outlook from stable to negative. This government has chosen to ignore this downgrade, criticize the institution which issued the downgrade, and caution the public that the prudent spending being advocated for by the opposition will lead to a cut in social programs, subsidies, and an increase in taxes. 20. With months to go before a general election, this government has used public resources to engage in blatant electioneering. This government has embarked upon a widespread media blitz, under the banner Your Government Working for You, which advertises the purported accomplishments of this government, which in fact amounts to no more than the basic responsibilities of a government to its citizens. Hundreds of millions of dollars of state funds have been utilized to fund this scheme. 21. In a year when this government is seeking re-election, it is proceeding to engage in acts carefully designed to either induce voters and/or relocate support by politically hyping a. The distribution of 100 government houses a week to citizens. b. The increase in the income ceiling criteria for government housing from $10,000 to $30,000. c. That citizens who have been renting government housing for more than 30 years will be allowed to purchase same for $100, and d. That some 30,000 persons who have been squatting on government lands will be regularized. Given all that has been set out above, which it should be noted is limited to a period of just 5 years, this government is evidently prepared to take liberties with citizens' rights and institutions, and has clearly demonstrated its reluctance to conduct public affairs and manage public resources in a proper and responsible manner. There is incontrovertible evidence that this government is not prepared to be party to a well-functioning democracy, and is instead prepared to engage in any form of misbehavior in order to further its own interests. As a consequence, the PNM is of the firm view that the Elections and Boundaries Commission would no doubt benefit from an added layer of protection which would be supplied through the activities of a CARICOM Electoral Observer Mission. In the premises, please treat this letter as a formal request to CARICOM to provide an Electoral Observer Mission to observe the general election in Trinidad and Tobago constitutionally due no later than September 17, 2015. We look forward to your kind consideration. Yours faithfully, Dr. Keith Rowley, MP, Leader of the Opposition. Drive Rowley as opposition leader before the 2015 general elections was insistent upon elections observers and actually wrote to CARICOM. The question is, why was he not?
Yes, people, that is essentially what Rowley wrote to the Commonwealth Secretariat and the to observe the 2015 general elections. That man is the epitome. That man is the quintessential, not just hypocrite, not just deceiver, but clearly one that has metamorphosized and is blatantly criminal. Criminal. It speaks to treason. It speaks to misbehavior in public office. It speaks to power mongering. And we can, of course, use those statements, 21 of them that he made in 2015 about Kamalande. We could superimpose it and rest it on Rowley and his bunch of opportunistic political criminal parasites over the last 10 years. Those same 21 paragraphs that he used and arguments, we can now apply to the PNM, and we are going to do so in a moment. A pleasant good night.
Yes, Dr. Lennox, good night.
Good night to you.
Yeah. I call you concerning Petro Jam tonight, not so?
Yes, Petro Jam, yes.
Yeah, well, I saw that same article on Professor Walsh's program.
Okay, great.
So,
thank you. You want to add to the information that we got, I suppose? Yes, people. What are the things that was mentioned by Rowley in 2015 that was, according to him, was happening? Mainly, of course, a figment of his pernicious, evil doings. His doings. He went to the parliament, he said, and brought fictitious pieces of paper and he says emails and dedicated about 3 paragraphs to not only accusing the then Prime Minister of conspiring to kill a journalist, but he went on to say that they were guilty of defying or offending natural justice because they send the emails to the EBC, not to the EBC, sorry. See, EBC, you see, it's important we keep them in mind, but to the Integrity Commission at the time. He mentioned, of course, Ventor, the vice chairman. He never said in that letter 6 months before he went to the chairman of the Integrity Commission who had to be fired because that was not the procedure. You see how clinical he is, always to get an unfair advantage. He mentioned, of course, the Rishmi. He mentioned section 34, all of which turned out to be a storm in a teacup. Much ado about nothing. He went on to say that the legislation to, of course, make better arrangement for Tobago somehow was a bad thing. But we know what has happened recently. Tobago has rejected what he proposed.
General elections as opposition leader. PNM political leader Dr. Keith Rowley has formally made a request for election observers from CARICOM. June 4, 2015. The following is the text of his letter to CARICOM's Secretary General.
That is what we played earlier. That's what he did. He also not only talk about Rishmi and section 34, and as I said, somehow the UNC was interfering with the local government elections. But today, he's glad to get aldermen all over the place because it was a progress as far as the electoral system is concerned for better delivery to the people. Benefiting from it now. And when, of course, Gary Griffith ended up getting one because of his attaching himself to the UNC, and the UNC, of course, participated in none of the corporations that, as far as voters are concerned, and would have voted, of course, for NTA. That's how they were able to get at least one alderman in the Diego Martin. He was most annoyed for that. But that is irrelevant. Then he was saying, bring independent observers. That's the point. Today, not once, not twice, he would say, no, he's not doing that. No, we always have free and fair elections. Well, if you know that, why the hell you wrote it to the Commonwealth Secretariat, Rowley, in 2015, and of course the CARICOM Secretariat? Why you right? You feel people are fools, and they wouldn't remember what you did. You blasted scamp. That's what you are. How the hell you was concerned about the non-presence of observers, and Kamala Prasad Bissessa is consistent as the Northern Star? Because the time didn't arrive yet for calling the elections, whilst he, Rowley, was writing these places. Kamala, when the time reached, just as so when the time reached for internal elections in the UNC, she delivered as a true Democrat. Rowley has done the opposite, but claiming in the beginning, as he has done throughout the last 10 years, saying one thing but doing the opposite. That is why today, when they tell you jump, you stand up. And when they tell you close your eye, you leave it wide open. Yes. And when they tell you run, you stand up. And if they tell you stand up, you run like hell. Because the man is a blasted liar, habitual and pathological. Habitual and pathological, people. That's what he is. You heard him there. Today, arrogantly and contemptuously, and because he believes that he has the power, he tells you, no, only CARICOM coming here, nobody else. And another iteration, he said no observers at all. And in another one for the 2020 elections, he orchestrated the non-coming of observers here. Well, of course, the Commonwealth Secretariat was ready, able, and all they wanted was to get, of course, one day quarantine, and medical examination for the COVID. For them, of course, being willing to, of course, observe and on behalf of the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and provide an objective analysis as to the elections and its status or state or outcome. No, Rowley sat in a pub and say if they come tomorrow because the time has drawn closer to the elections, he say they may have to sit it out 14 days in a hotel because he was insisting that they get 14 days quarantine. That beast in human form, that ugly son of a gun, and want, of course, to play that you is prime minister, and then, of course, imposing on us a Chinese fella, and the PNM rank and file so stupid, they understand yet that it is about manipulation of you and making you fools and carrying you, of course, like fools, telling you to go further, and of course he could twist and turn and meander like a blasted river, meandering and twisting and turning. That's what he has done. How dare you allow yourself to be so damn stupid over these years? But then, your eyes are now open, and 39 seats in Trinidad, and the Laventils must be part of that history. And I'm going to keep pounding at that so that you understand and revealing more. So I was telling you about, of course, my friend who, of course, I went to do some repairs to my vehicle today, and we had that discussion. We'll engage in that a little later. Let me just, what's happening here? Caller, call back, please. It appears that we have lost you. Hello? Yeah, we have lost that one. Yeah. Everything that he said in that letter, he's doing today. Said of Kamala Day, blatant lies. He is actually doing today. He called a state of emergency to deal with those African youths. But Kamala mustn't call it in 2011. He was vexed, and he said that in his letter to, of course, CARICOM and the Commonwealth. Just imagine that. Today, our African youths are reeling from, of course, a state of emergency that is clearly a half-picked duck. Because he can't control crime. And he had all the answers. In fact, after that, he said he had a 10-point plan in 2015. Now he has no plan. No plan. And he never had one, because even the 10-point plan collapsed. Dissipate. Went out the window. Washed away. As murders continue, of course, to escalate. Even in SOE. Even in the last month. They were anxious for the year to finish. But it finished with another record. Another record. But he was opposed to an SOE for the purpose of crime. And then he talked about, of course, a Muslim group claiming that to, according to him, and of Kamala Prasad Bissasa's administration, that a Muslim group was going to kill the Prime Minister, assassinate the Prime Minister. And clearly putting that in that document meant that they were trying to make an excuse probably to delay the elections. I don't know. But remember, of course, just before the carnival of several years ago, when he told us that a Muslim group want to kill him, remember that? Not for the first time. He loved to look for sympathy. When he was in the campaign in Tobago, in the market square, he said, somebody want to kill him. And twice, when he became Prime Minister from 2015, he said a Muslim group want to kill him around Carnival time, and all kinds of investigations and inquiries by the police was engaged, and there was nothing they found. Well, is it that he alone, when perceived or real a threat is brought to the attention of him and the law enforcement, only he must encourage and endorse an investigation? And what is the difference between his perception of a assassination plot and that of Kamala? None. 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 Same thing. How the hell her assassination plot is not real, but yours is real? And it turned out to be zero. They found, of course, some guns by accident in a mosque. Accident, nobody was apprehended. And he's so sour because that God, or put another way, I shouldn't say God, I should say like Kobo tutu on him. Kobo defecate on the man. You know, he come back now having selected, of course, because he mentioned that in the letter to CARICOM, you know, in 2015, you know, about the SSA. Remember that? And Kamala using that to maybe harass he and others as opposition. Today he is telling us that the same SSA that he selected whites in government, I don't know if you want to blame Kamala and them for people that he selected, want to kill him, want to destabilize his government. That's what he say. The man is so cursed. The man is so obtuse. The man is so self-conceited. The man is so paranoid. He knows nobody like him. He knows he's the bane of the people. Rowley appeared not even like himself with the nonsense that he speaks and the illusion that he projects. And I was making the point, it's people like who I spoke to today. A man that, of course, as I said, I know, went there, of course, to my cigarette lighter in the car because I use it, of course, to deal with the tire pump when there's a flat or something wrong. I could, of course, use my pump, but it has to go through the cigarette lighter. I don't smoke, but I use it for that purpose. And therefore, I thought I should go and repair it today. So I'm there. And he wants me to know that he saw me, of course, with Kamala and so on, and telling me that I want to dethrone or remove his government. And as I said, he began, of course, saying that nobody could be the PNM. So when I told him, of course, 1, 2, 3, 4 licks, and of course in 2025 his licks again, I didn't know he was building up some kind of animosity, some kind of anxiety towards, of course, being angry. He was becoming irascible. He was becoming apoplectic. Yeah, I didn't know that, because when I told him that, listen, what corruption? Because you have not given me any indication that Kamala Prasad Bissessa was corrupt, except, of course, what Rowley and them was talking. I hear you say or give an independent instance where corruption took place. But let me tell you this. I told him in no uncertain terms that about Brent Thomas, about, of course, Vincent Nelson and Nelson Gate. I spoke to him about, of course, the whole question of the Police Service Commission intervention. And then he said, of course, a very, what I consider to be a laugh that was a non-laugh, you know, only to show some kind of action, but really and truly it was to hide his true emotions, because he was getting annoyed. As we have seen with the PNM, they always show a nice face, but when the blasted reality strike them, you see them, of course, up and down the place talking a bunch of hogwash. Well, that fella is the microcosm of that kind of conduct, because he can't tell me what corruption he's talking about. I asked him, and when he did not, I started to offload corruption as far as Rowley is concerned. And then I reached, of course, Balize House, when he thought that, of course, those previous examples of corruption was not corruption. So I realized that his corruption is about money. So I said, where the hell they get the money from? He started telling me about 11 years now. I say, 11 years? Well, Eric Williams was there twice that time and more, and couldn't build and get $100 million only in 11 years. Since they come into office, they could build a $100 million facility. I say, you're talking nonsense. Well, I'm going to tell you what he told me after that. A pleasant good night. Welcome.
Hey, Lennox. Good night, boy.
Good night to you, my friend.
You hear me good?
Loud and clear, my friend. I'm a bit choppy tonight, but of course I'm determined to, of course, have a program tonight. Go ahead.
Well, I see the program kind of repeating itself, and I want to call you.
Yes.
I don't know what happening if you're getting problems here.
I don't know, but I'm seeing it going ahead, but I know it is a bit choppy, it's a bit slow, so I don't know what's happening here.
No, I just hear you talk about what you call away me today.
Right, yes.
And you talked already, so I don't have callers any problem to call in.
It could be because I'm only taking calls on my phone. The system is not up. I got back remember I went to the technician. So I nearly get charged on the priority speeding to go and get it to come back here. But the policeman say, I know you, go ahead, just come off and at the next intersection.
I talk about you, that is a good thing, people know you.
Yeah, it's a good thing. Otherwise, I would have been caught in that dragnet because about 6 of them was on the thing and they flagged me down and tell me to go on the side. And the young man came and he was very, very nice. I told him as it is. I told him that, no, I don't have a pass, but I have this program tonight and I'm hustling to go to collect the computer because before the man closes. And everything worked well. In fact, I passed in front by you on my way to collect. And then, of course, I came down the highway and back here. But I couldn't hook it up in time. But I decided, of course, to use the secondary system, which I'm using now.
It's a good thing everybody know your popularity spreading.
Yes.
That means the police listen to your program too.
That's right, because he said, I know of you. He's very, very cool and calm. And then he says, just go across there and exit at the next intersection. And I
you get royal treatment, boy.
Yeah. I see big men. I remember a time Amaru coming down on the priority, but apparently when we were directors in SBDC, Small Business Development Company, he was the chairman and I was a director, and we coming down the priority bus route from visiting a center in the east, and the police stopped him. He said, "Well, where do you do it?" He said, "Where bus pass?" I is American or thing. Well, I think they hit him a ticket.
Yes, well, that's a real test for him.
Yeah, they hit him a ticket, you know. I mean, he's American, I hit him a ticket, so.
And he had an Oxford they escorted like.
Yeah. I was directed, of course, not to do it again. Obviously, a slap on the wrist. But it was. I would not have gone there unless it was truly an emergency.
Absolutely, necessary.
Yeah. I would not have never take that chance for what sticking like everybody else in the traffic. But I had to come to treat with this matter tonight. So
you have to take your chances sometimes.
Yeah, obviously, and that is life. Life is about chances as well. Sometimes you succeed, sometimes you don't, and that is the nature of chances. Yes.
But this is what this government can do. Something that could be done in half an hour, 6 months.
Yeah.
Like when you country reach no place.
Yeah. But they have taken all the chances to tour with the people's mind. And they have reached a point where they have literally collapsed because the propaganda machinery has disintegrated. Nobody listens to them, except, of course, as I said, when you get the conclusion of the episode that I had with my who I consider to be my friend. I know that I'm earthwine now because he never thought that I would have been so fervent, because he thought that I make a joke. I make it, not only that, but I make a joke, hitching my wagon to the UNC, and I know where he was coming from. You try to, of course, generate this race baiting scenario without saying it, of course. So I want to tell you, because I don't want him to say that he did not speak that, but what he said, I think, spoke volume. To conclude, of course, the conversation, which I will, of course, share after you finish. Any other thing you want to talk about?
Well, I'm going to call you after that. So
okay, no problem.
But this before you go.
All right, Pandas. Yes, okay.
No, listen.
Oh,
listen.
Yeah, go ahead. Hello?
Mr. Ubai died recently.
Is what?
Mr. Ubai died recently. They sell him on a house. Yes, how many were demand that they could not picture the Jesus picture. So the man said he, but you have to move that. He said, oh, you move that? I don't sell it also already. They have people have a picture like Jesus Christ, you know.
I hear you.
They have it so bad, Lennox. You could imagine that way, Lennox?
Yeah, because today, I tell you, I had an experience with a fella who I knew for a very long time, and I'm going to tell you afterwards what the final outcome was. You wouldn't believe.
But you put it here,
all right, my friend. Well,
I will talk when the program done. I go call you.
Yeah, no problem. So, people, when I told him that listen, Balize House is the epitome of corruption. Where they get the money from? He started to talk about 11 years, trying to tell me that they were saving money. I said, what stupidness you're talking? You know what the man tell me? He said, I call him a fool. I call him a fool. I tell the man, what stupidness you're talking? In other words, you can insult my intelligence by telling me that them were saving money for 11 years because we only tell them that. I corrupt the man to the core. Yeah. The man turned and tell me, so I didn't know he was getting vexed. He said, you call me, I ain't disrespect you. That what he telling me. And I call he a fool. I delaying to give you the outcome. Yes, I want to keep you in suspense. Let me take this call first before I tell you what the final outcome of this encounter was. A pleasant good night. Welcome.
Good night, Lennox. This is
good night to you.
Yeah, man. God bless you. God bless your program, man. Granny just did it together with all your boys.
Thank
Listen
you.
all your program.
Yes.
A good program. I thinking, what is really wrong with people? Look at Diego Martin. Those people plant a big garden, acres of garden, and they build a house. And Diego Martin, you could remember last year, Diego. And the government bulldozed on everything, break down everything. Like last year, Diego Martin.
Yes.
Acres of things done plant, don't need to reap.
Yes. My Andy went and filmed that, and he was on top of that particular project because he is from that area. So he was very passionate and emotional about that entire incident. A good produce.
Look what they do this week in Lahoketa. What wrong with people? That they still say they vote in PNM. And look at the thing PNM doing. All right, thank you.
Thank you, my dear. And you should be concerned. You have a right to be concerned. And of course, I am not going to regurgitate that situation with the $100 for the apartments here. It's a lost opportunity. And I understand that the UNC have even better arrangements for those persons in this Port of Spain. Laventille, be part of history. 39 seats. 39 seats means that all of the seats in Trinidad, that includes the Laventilles, must go in the corner of the US. If you want to get optimum, and you will be focused upon because of that break, that sever, that dismantling, that disconnecting. Yes, that you would have illustrated by simply doing the right thing in the best interest of the children, those who would gravitate to a life of crime and higher crime, especially those who are of voting age and who believe that somehow the PNM cares about them, but leave you in that kind of quagmire, that kind of doldrum for many years. Neglect and disrespect, and then they feed you with some CPEP and URP and maybe some corporation jobs, as the vast majority live in squalor and abject poverty and total and absolutely in a state of want want and the need. Want and need. Abject. Total. That is the reality that the PNM has perpetrated and claiming as the guided, trying to tell me. I'll give you a little more because I want to prolong the conclusion. You wouldn't believe what the conclusion to this encounter this evening was. A friend of mine who I went and did some electrical work on my vehicle. But go ahead, my friend from Trinidad City.
A pleasant good night, Lennox.
Pleasant good night to you as well.
Absolutely right. That east-west corridor area of Laventille will be making history, and this is something to go down in the books of history, that they have decided to do the right thing, and it will be a great pleasure and an honor to see that the people of Laventille and environs do the right thing and vote for themselves, vote for betterment for themselves. They live in poverty for many years under the PNM. You're getting a break, you're getting a chance in life to go forward, to make yourself, to make the village, to make the community, to make history, to do the right thing. And in order for them to do that, they must vote the UNC. They have to.
Very simple.
In order to get a fighting chance.
That's right.
A fighting chance. You know? So, a pleasant good night again. I'm going to snuff here, but again, people of Laventille, Mova, East Dry River, all of them coming all the whole way up, even to Tunapuna. You got to do what you have to do in order to survive. And right now, you're not surviving based on the PNM policy. So you need to do the right thing and decide, make a decision. We telling you over and over, the time is drawing near. You need to vote the UNC for a better life. Your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren. And as I believe as Mr. Tiger Rigo said, I guess some of these people still have up the Jesus picture still up, but it's not Jesus. They have the Eric Williams picture up there. Remove it and you will see better life will be happening, better things will happen to you. All right, so everyone pay attention, the UNC and Yellow is the code. All right, Lennox.
Yes, man, of course. Yes, indeed. I want to tell you, go to the top of the class because, of course, you have so articulately expressed the reality, and therefore the Yampi must come out of their eyes. They must take off the blinders. They must not have tunnel vision. You must grasp the opportunities, because the same fella told me that it was the PNM that developed the place. And when I told him it was their duty, where you feel it is. But that only happened until 1986. And then, of course, he catch himself. And then I went on, of course, to say also in 1995 and in 2000. Yes, and in 2010. And they will get the tail cut again in 2025, this year, elections. And it appears that the tension was building up. And when I told him about Balize House, and it's impossible that, of course, that they could find, after Rowley said that the party was bankrupt, and talking about 13 years or 12 years that they were what? They were selling raffle and all that kind of nonsense. And he's a businessman, eh? He's a businessman. But telling me that Rowley tell him, and he repeating that, Rowley and the party could accumulate over $100 million in 10 years. In 10 years. I mean, what a tragedy, if anybody believes that. What a tragedy. And it is a measure of the level of either sycophantism, denial, or people simply do not care, or they don't want to hear, or they don't want to rationalize Or they don't want to apply their blasted common sense, because it is said that common sense is not as common as one would have expected in a party like the PNM, because the amount of ass talk that they speak is incomprehensible to anybody with a modicum of intelligence. Pure nonsense. To do what? Nonsense. Because it's about greed. That's what it's about. That's what it's about. And don't tell me I know what I'm talking about, because I didn't want to. I couldn't further the conversation, because I was going to tell my friend, listen, I'm sure that he's listening tonight. I was going to tell him that I saw. Rowley also told you that not a company that has contracts with the government work on Balize House. But I want to tell him and tell you tonight, I have the pictures with Jusamco pouring concrete. Jusamco, one of the companies in the group of companies of Junior Sammy, pouring concrete on Balize House. Not when the superstructure was up, why said they were developing the basement. Yes, the infrastructure. Yeah, the base. So we expect to happen afterwards. Jusamco, but worse yet, Jusamco is the blasted company that was responsible for that piece of the highway to Point Fortin that collapsed into the blasted swamp below. That company. You're telling me that you can use and generate the inescapable conclusion? I don't want to tell you what to conclude. You must know it is corruption. You must know that. And at any rate, you must know that there's no way they could, of course, accumulate 100 million, no matter how they try. And if they were selling, of course, raffle tickets, then it means, therefore, that the National Lottery Board would have had to suspend their operation maybe for 2 or 3 years, because they would have taken over what the profits that the National Lottery Control Board would have had to get, but it never happened. Wait, tell me about raffle. Which raffle in Trinidad and Tobago ever made? Except for a couple of $1,000. Which raffle? Because you have to end up, of course, if it's cars, you have to end up out of that money paying for the cars. Paying for the cars. And one of those cars, maybe about 100, the same 100,000 thereabout or more. How much raffles you could blast it, sell, and what, 4 cars or something like that? They're telling me about. So when, of course, I became very adamant and slightly vociferous, I must admit, because I had to talk hard, so people maybe business was closing at the time. But he said the most astonishing thing afterwards, when I say talking nonsense, he said, but you call me a fool, and I call you a fool. Listen. Pay me. He said, pay me. I closing my gate now. Pay me. We finished your work. He turned to the boy who was doing the job. He said, how much? What is this you did? He said, all right. And he told me the amount. I pull out and I wait for my change. I give him the money and I wait for my change. He begged the boy, of course, to find change. I think I had to get $40 change. And all I simply do, calm. Why is he kicking up a storm? He angry because I told him that he talking nonsense, and he say I call him a fool. That is how the PNM operates. That is how the PNM operates. A person would say, something like what Kamala Prasad Bisesa said, and then they would turn it into something else because the word is similar too. But in his case, I can't see how we can say I call him a fool. All I said, you're talking nonsense. Making him understand that you can't get me involved in that illogic that you're trying to sell yourself, because you can't sell me that. You're selling yourself. So he felt that he was stupid. So he said that I called him stupid. And that, of course, he want to close up his place. He want to close up his place, pay him. And let me done this talk. Yeah. And that's what you have to do them. I'm saying to you, that's what you have to do them. Kill them with facts, because he cannot tell me where Kamala and they were corrupt. And if he was smart and, of course, really and truly interested in a conversation, I would have told him where to look to see whether or not Kamala and they were corrupt. I would have tell him, look at the aquatic center, the mega projects, look at the hospitals they built, and found, of course, the loans that benefited the PNM, which they used, of course, to finish the Arima Hospital, the Point Fortin Hospital, as well as the Santa Grande Hospital. I tell him to look all day. And I tell him to look, of course, for the 106 or 7 schools. And I tell him that. And I tell him, of course, to look at the campus in the Bay. And I would have still go and tell him, look at the portion of the highway that is finished, the Point Fortin. And as one fella tried the other day to tell me that SIS running, he didn't know that, of course, the court said that to unfreeze part of their assets that they were supposed, of course, to deposit. That's a legal thing. But more significantly, just as the highway to Point Fortin was emasculated on specious, foolish, and non-Trinidad and Tobago's interest basis, is the same way that SIS water treatment project was treated by Rowley and they have no alternative. Kamala and they simply was going to use all the millions of gallons or millions of liters of water that is used on a daily basis in the process of human cleansing, hygiene and so on, toilets, bathroom, etc. Take all that water and convert it into industrial palatable water, industrial, because Point Lisas, it was to go to Point Lisas, so the factories or the industries there can use that water. If people know by mere conscience that that water was formerly filth water, was sewer water, they wouldn't want to drink it if you said it to them, even though it could be clean as what? Clean as what? But they don't, they will not. So what you do, you send that to Point Lisas, and what WASA was feeding Point Lisas with, clean water, palatable water that is good for human consumption, put it that way. That water would have now been diverted to getting, of course, more water to the people, and therefore a greater and closer to 24/7 water. But they can't think that far. They are visionless. All now, the water for all agenda of the Kamala Prasad Bissesa UNC administration would have been achieved. Would have been achieved. So let us not waste time. And you have a duty. The lesson in this exercise is that you have a duty to defend the UNC, because they have no alternative. All they're doing is regurgitating what Rowley and them tell them, and Rowley and them themselves don't give you any details. And when they decide, of course, that they get big fish, it turned out that they concocted, they orchestrated, they set up people like Anand Ramlogan and Ramdeen and says a big fish, and afterwards say, it's not me, it's not me, it's not me. So we know that they have collapsed. even in that way. But to have these poor people, they wouldn't set the PNM, that is, wouldn't set the records right, and had these poor people believing the nonsense and the lies that they have been peddling. Thank God we have social media that we could talk for 2 hours, 3 hours, and they too listen, and they are now getting smarter and smarter and smarter, and it's a good thing. You don't have to wait long again before an election for them to come on board and do what they have to do to liberate Trinidad and Tobago from these, what I consider to be merciless mercenaries. I say merciless mercenaries. They are soldiers of Satan, mercenaries. And Rowley is king, not just mercenary, but Satan personified. Satan personified. And all of them, in the context of Trinidad and Tobago and in all practicality, must now be relegated to the dustbin of history. But before that, they must face the blue lights and silver bracelets. A lexiconic phrase, a dictionary phrase, a part, of course, of the vocabulary of the politics introduced by Rowley. Well, there is a saying, careful what you wish for others, unless, of course, you befall it. Be careful about the hole that you dig for others, especially if it is vindictive, wicked, and malicious. The intention is to do evil unjustifiably. And finally, of course, it is said in no uncertain terms, be very careful. Be very careful. That's a natural human experience and outcome. Oh, what a tangle web we weave when we first set out to deceive. Yes, Rowley. Yes, Hines. Yes, Stuart Young. Yes, Lymore. Yes, Alwari. Yes, Robinson Regis. Yes. Donna Cox. Yes. Robinson Regis. Oh, what a tangle web we weave when we first set out to deceive. And Laventille, you have the opportunity on this occasion. The time is drawing nigh. And 5 years is not an eternity, as the PNM would like you to believe. It's for you to be voting them over and over and see you as a vote bank. And they have foisted upon you without any compunction or opportunity for you to make the choice. And as I've said before, that the PNM owes Laventille, because it's Laventille that saved the tails in 1986 when the 2 seats, forget San Fernando East, 2 seats handsomely remained in the corner of the PNM. And to give in return for that level of loyalty and that expectation that focus will be made, they supervise instead abuse, destruction, and now displacement. It is called gentrification. Give them a next term, as if all only come off the blasted hill and all from around here and elsewhere. I will sell my property. That's all. If they want it, we negotiate and we get a price and we go somewhere else. But where you will go and where they will put you, and worse yet, your presence in other parts of the country, tantamounts to an escalation of the crime and criminality, because you will not still be able to be employable, and therefore those subterranean conduct for persons who are unprepared to find or create a lifestyle. For example, a young man could still go around the corner and sell some coconuts and provision and so on, because there's a throughput. People will regularly visit. They must pass Prince Street, for example, to go up on the hill and vice versa, and people must eat. But when they go in those concrete jungles in other parts of the country, you're talking about crime and criminality, escalation, and gang warfare, mushrooming across the country. That is what's going to happen. But let's go to the line. A pleasant good night once again, Mr. Trinidad.
A pleasant good night again, Lennox.
Yes.
I just want to reiterate what you just saying there, and put the things, one or two things in perspective as you're going along. Just as a reminder, is that the Honorable Kamala, when these children and parents were having difficulties, and some of them are having young babies, some of these babies and them would have been in a good position by now, because they were given grants to put into their accounts. They were given milk. They were given so much of life support in order to go forward. And I mean, they refuse it. Now they get an opportunity to get back again. I hope they don't refuse it. This is something for the future. This is something that the kids and them and the parents and them of the East-West corridor have to consider, that these are the children of the future, and we need to protect them. We need to make them live comfortable. And I mean, 90% of the people, I mean, I'm not saying, people don't travel and whatever it is, but some of the first world countries, if we see what they have outside, Trinidad could be 10 times better than that. 10 times better than that. We need to develop, and we need to go forward.
That's
we can't
right.
stay like a stock on its shelf. You understand? We just there, waiting for somebody.
Resources of the country was filtered away and profligately disposed. And look what we have for it. More crime, poor infrastructure, a bleak future. The economy is in tatters. And you have those things saying that PNM.
Not cutting across,
Go ahead.
but you might be a little more familiar. Is it the swimming pool active?
But somebody told me the other day, somebody close to the one in Coconut Drive, that is tadpoles, because the Coast Guard are not doing their jobs in terms of making the facility available to the youths. Because if they make that open to the youths, they lie and dive in day and night. Some might be drunk by now, because that is a natural consequence of having a community as open as Laventille is. But understand that they prefer to keep it closed, only to say that they have a swimming pool.
My God.
Yeah, that is what is happening. But I have to verify it, and I'm going to try my best to take some pictures as well.
Yeah. All right, Lennox. So
yes.
People.
Yes,
Lennox
ma'am.
is.
Oh gosh. Sorry about that. I thought you had finished. Yes, indeed. But people, of course, we have come to the end, and let me tell that man, because he asked me the question again too, I fearing well. I said, yes, of course I'm fearing well. He would have seen, because the kind of car driving and so on, he tell himself that I'm fearing well. But I say, suggesting, of course, that he is fearing well as well, under the PNM, of course, and that we try to indicate. Of course, if he didn't get so vexed, I would have asked him, but wasn't he faring well as well, if not better, under the UNC? And if he did only say no, I don't feel that he might not have said no. Even though he said no, I said, but Rowley didn't say that. But he was asked the same damn question. And he might not get more vexed. They simply do not have the depth of response capability, because it doesn't exist. The PNM is toxic, it's bad news, and they must understand that, get on board, and do what is right for themselves and their family, their future, and of course the nation ultimately. There's the final call. Go ahead, caller.
Lennox?
Yeah.
Am I getting good?
Loud and clear, yeah.
Right. Mr. Trinidad and yourself have the right ID, right?
Yes.
All we have the right ID. But let me tell you this. He's sure not to try and think for themselves, eh? Because when Rowley call them hyena in the African jungle and all monsters and all this crap, you know the parents has endorsed that. They just say what the Prime Minister have to say about all you. Or they make him ashamed. Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, imagine that.
Yeah, he said that, but he also said that parents sending monsters to school.
But that's what I'm telling you.
So they accept that they are monsters too then?
Well, I don't know, but they endorse what the
No, I'm just
man
asking you based on your line of your trend of thought, yeah?
Yeah, but they have to be because...
Okay, well, right, say so, yeah. I would want to think that as well, because if they believe that they are monsters and sending them to, I said, then they mustn't only say what the Prime Minister saying about the children. They must say, well, the children should be brave enough to say, you ain't hear what the Prime Minister say about you. And that will create all kinds of problems.
No, but I try to show you how brainwash these people is.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but just telling you, if they were smart enough, they would have thrown it back on the parents because he said things about them as well.
Let me tell you something. I think I tell you this already, right?
Go ahead.
You could say anything you want by Indian people. Tell me how time with you know. But if you say anything about the children, by the way, they go the whole Indian dictionary in your backside.
Yes. And that's how it should be.
That is how it should be with the PNM
people. But Rowley and they believe they have a license to tell the African anything.
Anything they
want. And because of their elitist agenda, they engage, of course, in this superiority, a supercilious disposition, and that others must be below them and they could crush them. And worse yet, those who accept that they are below them, a fellow like me never accepted that since in school, but worse yet, those who have been classified as that by the PNM and Rowley and they accept that nonsense. They accept that nonsense. I will tell you some stories. You wouldn't believe the degree to which these people accept that when them people talk. But listen, but if the UNC tell them the same thing, man, they'll bring down all of the thunder and lightning, because the UNC is UNC talk, but PNM could tell them anything. Yeah.
You will say go stoop to that level,
No, that's what I'm saying. As Judge was saying, if hypothetically I'm talking, but they will not. Yeah. That is not the nature, so therefore that will happen.
Too much class.
Yeah.
Just stoop to that level. But you are a man familiar with Indian people.
Yeah.
Right? And you know some of them who go to
yeah. And they don't, and these Africans don't understand that Rowley and them are saying that to stay where they are, to eat ham, lamb, and jam, and since they are prepared to eat dirt, that they will give them by the truckloads, if not the mountain loads.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man, and them have no conscience. They're engaging in that kind of bizarre tragedy and destruction. It cannot be sustained. Cannot be sustained. Nobody, no country could live in perpetuity with that kind of travesty that is the PNM. Yeah.
Let me tell you this, yeah?
Go ahead.
The last thing.
Yeah.
I is a 9-month-old baby, yeah?
I hear you.
My mother carried me for 9 months, yeah? By the will of God.
Right.
My mother said I was 14 pounds if you will abort, you know.
Okay.
I didn't kill my mother.
Yeah, you're a tall man. You're not a tall man, a tall, strapped man, so it's possible, yes. For what you know.
You should call me by a box kid. I can't know you should call me.
Okay.
God bring me through that. And let me tell you something, Lennox. You see this government already operated? I figure them is premature babies, you know.
No doubt. No doubt. I would go further to say premature asses. I should tell you how stupid they are and believe that is sustainable because it's about immediate gratification. They get a nice house and they get some money and never thought that they would have get that. Rowley's prepared, of course, to pay them with our money to, of course, remain silent and whilst those evil are being perpetrated with no consequence. So they believe. But the people are now smarter. Laventille, you must be part and parcel of history on this occasion. 39
Why you don't think about Rudolph Charles and them brothers? They were brilliant fellas.
Of course. But Rowley decided to put them on Nelson Street and say that tourists will come there. What a wicked act.
What the idiot who does college of nature rising you?
Yeah?
The man who does park up car preacher rising you are telling you about.
Yeah, Mr. Porter Spain. And he defending that and telling me how people trying to incite violence that I calling people stupid and all that thing. Things to that effect. Like if he see in me that which is him, isn't him. He can't go in Caledonia and any other place in the dark and they inquire about and they will just wait and inquire about him. They will deal with him. I see man could go any part.
Anyway.
Right, dividing line there between, of course, on Nelson Street, Duncan Street. So when they see me, they see, of course, progress and they see an opportunity, and that is what they will get. I will sit down on the block in St. Barb's, and if they're drinking beers, I buy a blasted case of beer, and we start to talk, and we talk serious business as to what we could do and how we could do it. Sorry, I'm not in government to, of course.
You might get there, and you're going.
And I told somebody when after Pandey made me a temporary senator, and on the next occasion when I was going back, I say, man, if I get a chance, I empty the treasury in Laventille. Yeah, I'm on record, public record, saying that because I know that place could be transformed.
But let me tell you this, sir. And you man know me real good.
Yes.
You take them Rowley or PNM, they give me a house for $100. You think I'm not gonna tell me you take that?
But this is what I'm saying. Anybody who would not have been influenced by the nonsense spewed by the PNM. You see, because it is a generational thing, it's a cultural thing. So that you are conditioned to act against your best interests. That is what that was about.
But no more. Wicked woman to do them that.
Yeah, no more. But they must see them as wicked. That's the first order
but I must say she was a wicked woman.
of taking action, yes.
Right? You get out of equinox.
Yes, man.
And you get over $100 straight.
Yeah. And they refuse it. All now they're owning that place. Carnival is around now. Empty a room, and of course you're getting Yankee money because from the bedroom or wherever it is, or the room, straight into the Carnival. That is what tourists would want. That is what they come for. And then of course they fly back. But the crime and delinquency and the violence must be first addressed because we have to stop the governments abroad from saying don't go Trinidad. And worse yet, if you go Trinidad, don't go Nelson Street, George Street, East Port of Spain, etc. We have to stop that. And it could be stopped by the people themselves. The people themselves must be able to do that because they have better options. When the UNC comes into government, I hope to be part and parcel of those options that would directly impact positively the communities.
I hope there's one of the 39 seats.
Yes, indeed. And they know that they must be part of the 39. Well, they have to be part of the 39 if it's 39 seats for the UNC and any configuration in Trinidad. All right.
But then you're going to be in the parliament too because you have to be part of the 39.
Yeah, well, of course, I would manage the campaign. I told them.
You will have to accept a seat in the parliament.
Yeah, well, of course, maybe as a senator, but certainly in terms of managing the project and so on, I don't think I'll have the time to struggle between, of course, coming here, for example, going on the campaign trail and so on. No. I will go and speak wherever I have to speak, come back and do this, and I will be working from behind, in front, on the side, and of course making certain that we have a proper, very efficiently run campaign in order to convince the people that now is the time and no other time ever before in their lifetime or in the lifetime of Laventille, that they have a chance, of course, to really do well and to, of course, ameliorate their circumstance and condition, because it has gotten worse. But
you choose your own career, so nobody can vex you.
No, nobody can vex with me. All right, my friend.
I will call you back in a while when I figure you're gone off.
Okay then, thank you very much. Yes, indeed. People, of course, we have come to the end of tonight's program. As I said, we use the secondary system. I think it worked fairly well in this circumstance. And of course, don't forget tomorrow morning, Andy, Mikey, and myself as we continue. A caller from the United States did ask me, of course, to play the Mighty Sniper because he is so nostalgic and so missing Trinidad and Tobago that he would want me, of course, to play that tonight. He says he enjoys the music that I play on a nightly basis, so I see no reason why tonight I cannot end with, of course, the Mighty Sniper. Let me see if I could do two things at the same time. This is the secondary system. As I said, it is not as efficient as I would like or what we have been accustomed to, but I think we might be able to do the same thing. Like the last time. Let me see. Play what I will do there. Play what edit. Play. All right. Let me see if I try this. I'm trying this for the first time. Let me see if I can play it. Let me see. All right.
Trinidad is my land, and of it I am proud and glad. But I can't understand why some people just talk it bad. But I know all of them we running them out. Don't know where they're talking about. They would paint your black every day, and the right things they would never say. Like and put us right alongside the rest.
Well, people, of course, let us, of course, make our departure as things are going well. Leave well alone, because it could get worse. So see you tomorrow morning on the Ground Report. Andy, Michael, myself, and tomorrow night, let's hope that we finish, of course, with the upgrading of our system so that, of course, we can bring a reliable program to you. Tonight, of course, was a bit lagging, but I trust that the message would have been clear. And of course, the information as far as Rowley's letter to the Commonwealth and CARICOM Secretariat is well inculcated to demonstrate the evil that this man and that he is contemplating some kind of stealing of the 2025 elections. He believed that he can do wrong and stay in office without consequences. No blue lights, no silver bracelets. Well, the longest rope has an end, the people say. The old people say. And the evil you do will follow you. Remember. Oh, what a tangle web we weave when we first set out to deceive. See you tomorrow. Have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. Bye-bye. It doesn't matter whether big or small, or if you're rich or poor, friendly cater for one and all. So all of them were talking, they either drunk or they staring mad, or maybe they forgetting Mr. Universe belongs to Trinidad, and yet we
have men of talent and skill, with high hopes of improving still. And if you think of